Welcome to the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants Podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and I am on the mission to change the narrative of immigration, one immigrant story at a time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants Podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and today I have Miss Savohna. Today, she is going to be talking to us about growing up with immigrant Jamaican parents. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here, being willing to share your story. If you could just introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into growing up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Savohna, and I am a bookkeeper. I help businesses stay organized with their financials.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Tell us about your upbringing in Massachusetts.
So my upbringing was very unique. My dad is Jamaican, but my mom, she's from the States. So just culturally, there were really big differences. And I came to really appreciate how differently my dad thought, like his mentality was so much different from everyone else's. And whenever I meet someone who isn't born here, it's like, to me, there's a lot of good things that can come from that because, I feel like sometimes your expectations on life are more realistic. It definitely makes you a fighter, right? Because you come here and it's new, it's different. And sometimes I feel that people who have immigrated here, they're much more focused, and I think that that's why they do so well in business because they just have that mentality. I hope that makes sense. Yeah,
No,
but
yeah.
that's one of the biggest things I've noticed.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so true. A lot of my guests actually have their own businesses. They come from a different country and end up starting their own businesses, which then again, produces jobs for other people and things like that. So I love that. And it is that, they come here with that fight and that focus. It's like, I got to make it any way possible. So I love that. And so tell us, were you able to visit Jamaica either growing up or now in your adult life? And if so, how was that experience?
Yeah, so I've been going to Jamaica ever since I was a little girl. Actually, the first time I went, it was on 9/11, like when it actually happened.
Oh,
So
wow.
we were flying down. Then all of a sudden, we had to land in Charlotte and they were like, there's a terrorist attack. And I'm like a little kid. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
But I grew up going down there and it's just a different vibe. The islands especially, it's just much more laid back. There's a stronger sense of community. I want to say, like,
Yeah.
and in the States, it definitely depends because one thing I've noticed about like the Jamaican community here or the Hispanic community here is they're really close knit. And I feel like some groups, they don't have that. And that really contributes to like loneliness or feeling like, it's just harder to get ahead because you're doing it alone.
Doing
You
that,
know,
yeah. Yep,
yeah.
that is
So
so
I
true.
definitely noticed that.
Yeah, so, what is your so visiting so you said you were able to visit multiple times. What is your favorite thing to do when you're, in the island?
My favorite thing to do is honestly go to the beach.
Mm.
There's in Jamaica, there's a restaurant called Little Ochi, and it's right on the water, seafood. That's really nice. Another thing is just driving around, right? And seeing just like this. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, for
just
sure.
seeing
Yeah.
how it makes you really realize that the world life is much bigger than we try to pigeonhole ourselves into. Like there's so much happening all at once. Sometimes it's nice to just pull your head above water and be like, okay, there's more going on in the world. I don't have to be so focused on my problems, when there's life that you can enjoy in the meantime. Not
Yeah.
everything is fixed overnight.
That is so true. So you mentioned that growing up, since your mom is from the States and your dad is from Jamaica, there was like that cultural difference. Can you tell us about how that was? Was it like trying to make the like trying to bring the cultures together, or was it like your dad trying to keep, traditions from Jamaica versus, traditions or cultural norms from the US? How was that growing up with two cultural differences?
It was interesting because my dad was definitely like he wanted to hold on to his traditions, his values, and I think that at the end of the day, that's what it really was. It's just those differences in values. My parents had similar values. My mom's family, she's from Mississippi.
Mhm.
So they're both from like the countryside. There's a particular mindset that comes from people who are just from the countryside,
Yeah.
whether that's here in the States or in another country. So there was that. There it was. I think that you know um looking back, I definitely see why my dad wanted to hold on to certain things. Sometimes as a kid, it feels like outdated or like, why do we have
Oh my god, yes.
like no one does that anymore,
Yes.
But I think when you grow up and you look back, you're like, okay, this is why it's important to hold on to certain things, because a lot of times people don't know what they're doing.
We don't ever know what we're doing. We're just out here winging it.
Exactly. Just going with the vibe.
Yeah, that is so true, and that just makes me reflect too on, like, certain choices of things that my dad himself is, like, really was really strict on, but then, like, now as an adult and you look back, it's like, okay, this is why he was so strict on this or why he was trying to hold on to traditions, and yet definitely as an adult, you realize, like, we're just doing the best we can out here, like, with the
Yeah.
information that we have, with the circumstances in front of us, with the different options that we have, so it's just like, we're just, doing the best we can, but as kids, like you said, we don't understand, until we grow up and maybe have our own family or just grow up and have real life choices right in front of us that we have to make. So oh my gosh, that is so true. Let's I want to ask, did you experience any cultural shock by any chance when visiting Jamaica, and if so, what was one of them?
I think the biggest cultural shock was like, this is gonna sound silly, but there's no Walmart. Like, like there's a store, it's called Mega Mart. One time I went to like a meat market, right?
Mhm.
With my aunt. And it's not like it was like so there's grocery stores,
Mhm.
but there's also like vendors who do that, they do it, they come down to like a town center and they sell it. So we went to one of those. So it wasn't like at the Mega Mart, right? And
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm really in like a butcher shop, but
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
but we're not like inside. So I was like, wow, I can really smell
Yup.
going on here. And it was just like, whoa, I've never like in a lot of ways, like it's kind of similar, just like with technology and stuff,
Oh
but just
yeah.
but just like the way of life is just different. Like the values, like most of the food is local. It tastes better. It tastes
Oh my god.
different. And everything feels more close knit. Like
Yeah.
here, even where I am, it's not like the biggest city in the world, but things are kind of spread out, but there's like everything is like close knit and like Sundays things are slower, you know.
Yeah.
th- there's it's just like more laid back, everyone is kind of on a similar time, um like town center, like
Yeah.
they definitely still have that feel,
Yeah.
especially where my dad is from in Jamaica. But here it's like town center kind of just like everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna lie.
Have you been thinking about starting your very own podcast? Well, I created a podcast course to help you launch your podcast without feeling overwhelmed and with simplicity. Okay. So it is a 6 week podcast course. Each video is less than 15 minutes long. So it doesn't take that much time to get through. And it breaks down the steps that you need to launch your podcast. Again, 6 weeks or less. So you can do it faster than 6 weeks, or you can take longer than 6 weeks. It's all up to you. You do it at your pace. And you will get lifetime access to this course. In addition to the 6 modules or the 6 videos, you also get videos about editing. You'll also get the podcast digital planner, which helps you create your content and helps you with the episode outline. It helps you with the show notes outline. It helps you stay on track with the podcast cycle checklist. It has the guest intake form and also a Google Sheet episode organizer to make sure that you are organized and set up from the jump to be able to plan out your content, organize your episodes, because that is key to long-term podcasting, right? You'll also get 3 exclusive interviews with leading podcasters who are killing it in the industry. And in addition to all of that, you will also get the podcast workbook, like how to launch a podcast workbook that goes along with each module. So you can watch the videos and then also follow along with the workbook. All of that is included in the course. If you are interested, head over to my Stand store. The link is in the show notes and the show description. So you can sign up for the course. And there's also a referral program included. If you refer someone to me to launch their podcast and they sign up for the course, I will give you $50. That's right. You will receive $50 if the person you referred does sign up for the podcast course. So, all the information is in my Stand store. If you have any specific questions, you can always email me at Heidy@HeidyDeLaCruz.com and let's get your podcast launched. That island life and vibe, like you said, is so different than it is here in the States. Like just like you said, life is more I feel like it's more laid back. I feel like
Yes.
yeah, like when my parents are from the Dominican Republic, so when we would go and visit, it's like people are not in such a rush like it is here in the States. And although sometimes things move slow no, I'm not sometimes, like, things move slower over there, but it's okay. We don't have to live life in a rush all the time, and I feel like that's stressful, having to, be in a rush, all the time. But no, thank you for sharing the culture shock. And so, from here, let's get into your business. You said you were a bookkeeper, so how did that come about?
It came about in college. I have a business degree, and one of the things that I really loved since high school was just business math and learning how all of that works. So when I did accounting in college, I was like, this really makes sense. And I've noticed that when it comes to accounting and bookkeeping in particular, when you understand money, it's like life becomes so much easier. You know, when you have those systems in place, when you when you don't feel overwhelmed and lost, when you feel like more in control of that, you tend to make better choices, and
Yeah,
you're able to grow your business in a way it's not as stressful because you know that you have a plan, you know that the plan works, and all you have to do is figure out how to get to the next step quicker
yeah,
and keeping that area of your life organized. It really allows you to grow in ways that most people don't. And it's not because that they can't, right? But it's just going through that process of like just becoming organized, you
yeah,
know? Like sometimes in our house, we may have clutter and stuff that we need to clean up, organize our closet, and money is kind of the same way. But once you do that, it's like it's liberating and you don't feel as stressed out. And for businesses in particular, it's so important because you want to make sure that you can write off as much of your expenses as possible. And there's different levels to it because some businesses, they'll send out a invoice and technically, the business will get taxed on that money. But what happens when you haven't received it? Now you're getting taxed on an unrealized gain. That happens sometimes. And things, depending on your business, things move fast. Like I work with one company and they they sell like these products and inventory is a big issue. So it's not just keeping the books clean, but it's keeping track of all the little costs and stuff that comes with selling a bundled item.
Yeah, yeah. And so I wanted to ask, like, what type of businesses do you do keep booking for? Bookkeeping for, oh my gosh.
So I work with real estate investors, landscapers, manufacturers. I would like to work with more a variety, you know.
Mhm.
It's all about helping people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so I would love if you could give, business owners a little money tip.
Whenever your business pays for something, always save the receipt and organize it as soon as you get it. Because the worst thing is when it comes tax time, now you're trying to scramble and trying to find things. And if you can't find a receipt, it can end up costing you a lot of money. You may have to overpay in taxes just because you couldn't find a receipt. Also, money isn't organized, you're paying more in taxes. So, like, having someone that can help you, once you cross a certain level in your business, it costs you more not to have a bookkeeper than to have one.
Mhm.
So, in the very beginning, like maybe the first year while you're trying to figure things out, having a bookkeeper won't help you because you're trying to figure out how to make your business work.
Yeah.
But after that, after you feel like things are going good and you're getting consistent revenue each month, then that's really the time to have someone come on and just help you stay organized, help you understand how to read your financial statements.
Mhm.
I was reading an article and it said that over 60% of business owners, they don't know how to read their financial statements. And I wish that more business owners did, because sometimes the stress that comes from running the business comes from the money side. And
Oh,
the more you feel in control of that, the more enjoyable it is. Like with the business, it's never going to be 100% predictable. Like
yeah.
there's always going to be ups and downs. Life is always going to throw you a curveball. But when you know that you're on solid ground, when you when you have help planning for the future, then you know that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay and your family is protected.
Oh, that is so good. And how can people connect with you?
So I am on LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn is Savohna Reid. The name of my business is called Reid Bookkeeping and Business Solutions. I can provide you with some links just so it's easier for
Yeah.
people.
Yep, I'll definitely include your link to LinkedIn in the show notes and the show description. And the very last question that I love to ask my guests to wrap up the conversation today is, what does the American dream mean to you?
I think that the American dream is just having an idea of what you want your life to be and then overcoming everything in the way of that. Because it's different for everyone, and I
Yeah.
think that's why it's become like this thing. But more than affluence, and having money and being wealthy, the American dream is pretty much just like living your life in a way that makes you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. And thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and the money tip. Yeah, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Heidi. This was awesome. It was great to meet with you and speak with you.
Thank you for listening to Mommy Podcast.